Did you know that there is a forbidden gospel in the Bible that reveals a secret capable of completely transforming our vision of the world and the future of humanity? In it, sin simply does not exist, and Mary Magdalene should have been the true leader after Jesus' death. This ancient manuscript, hidden for centuries, carries the knowledge needed to escape the imminent collapse of the material world. The early church feared the power of this gospel so much that they banned it, trying to erase its teachings once and for all. But now, at the end of time, its truth is being revealed. We are not just talking about beliefs or religion. The revelation contained in this text goes much further, directly touching the destiny of all of us. When the truth is finally understood, there will be no going back. The certainties that were imposed on us will crumble, and a new path will be charted. Are you ready to open your eyes and see what has always been hidden? Dolores Cannon, in her book, The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, talks about souls who came to Earth to elevate human consciousness and guide us to a spiritual world before it is too late. These souls carry with them the knowledge necessary to save humanity from darkness. The connection between past lives, reincarnation, and the purpose of these willing souls fits perfectly into the mission that the Gospel of Mary Magdalene tried to teach us: to escape the physical world and transcend into a spiritual reality. At the end of the 19th century, a German scholar found, among the ruins of Egypt, something that challenges our understanding of what is sacred. In the ashes of the ancient city of Oxyrhyncho, he discovered fragments of the lost Gospel of Mary Magdalene, a text that threatens to crumble the foundations of faith as we know it. Over the years, other fragments were revealed, like pieces of a great apocalyptic puzzle. The words contained in this Gospel are more than a challenge to the Church. They are a prophecy about the destiny of humanity. The truth that Mary Magdalene tried to reveal to us 2 millennia ago was too dangerous. His gospel challenged the foundations of the Church's power by saying that salvation would not come through blind faith, but through secret knowledge, reserved only for those capable of understanding. A knowledge that, if disseminated, could free humanity and overthrow all power structures. Now, with its rediscovery, this gospel emerges as a sign. We are on the brink of a great spiritual revelation, and only those who are prepared will be able to achieve final salvation. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene brings a revolutionary teaching. The material world is not sick. According to Jesus, everything we experience and observe is deeply connected and comes from a single divine source. In a world that often feels chaotic and confusing, this understanding can offer great comfort. After all, Jesus reveals to us that behind all the apparent disorder, there is a greater order, and that everything one day will return to the same origin. This perspective strengthens us as it makes us see beyond the surface of the problems and challenges of everyday life. He shows us that by understanding this truth, we can transcend the illusions that keep us trapped in fear, ignorance, and suffering. The concept that the material world is an illusion is not just an ancient spiritual idea. It is also something that modern science is beginning to recognize, especially in the field of quantum mechanics. Scientists have discovered that at the most basic level of reality, things don't work the way we always imagined. Instead of solid matter, what exists are energies, vibrations, and waves. Physicist Max Planck, considered the father of quantum theory, once stated, "There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force." This means that the material world as we know it is a temporary illusion. Both modern science and ancient wisdom seem to agree that true reality lies beyond what our eyes can see. This realization suggests that we can, in fact, escape the traps of fear and confusion that imprison us in our daily lives. In this context, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene appears as a map to guide us out of this illusion and reconnect us with the true essence of existence. He shows us that there is a path to something greater, something more real and lasting. But in the days of the early church, this message was dangerous. The rigid and patriarchal structure of the church could not accept that a woman, like Mary Magdalene, could occupy a position of spiritual leadership. It was unthinkable that she could be the person to whom Jesus entrusted his most profound teachings, and that her mission would be to guide the disciples after Jesus' departure. This gospel portrays Mary not just as a follower, but as the only one who truly understood Jesus' words. This in itself would have shaken the foundation of the early church. But the message goes even further. According to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, salvation does not lie in religious rules or in blindly following authority figures. It's really about finding your own spiritual path and discovering the truth within yourself. The church, over the centuries, sustained its power by positioning itself as the only intermediary between the faithful and salvation. However, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene challenges this idea, saying, "You do not need intermediaries. The power to understand the truth is within you." Perhaps the most striking statement is that sin does not exist. Let this sink in. Jesus reveals to the disciples that the concept of sin was created as a tool of control, used to instill guilt and fear in people. Imagine the impact of this idea at a time when the church relied heavily on the notion of sin to maintain its power over the faithful. This revelation completely subverts religious control, challenging the manipulation that the church exercised over its followers. For centuries, the religious institution propagated the idea that human beings were born sinners and that the only way of redemption was through absolute submission to religious authorities. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene dismantles this narrative, placing the focus on personal responsibility and spiritual knowledge. He teaches us that we are not inherently flawed, but that ignorance of our true essence traps us in the cycle of suffering and pain. Furthermore, the Gospel highlights the role of women in the early church, an often overlooked point in religious tradition. One of the most striking moments in the text occurs when Mary shares the secret teachings that Jesus entrusted to her. Peter, however, rejects her, unable to accept that Jesus would have revealed such profound wisdom to a woman. Her reaction reflects the patriarchal views of that time, which saw women as incapable of exercising spiritual leadership. However, Maria stands firm, not backing down in the face of resistance. Levi, another disciple, intervenes in her defense, reminding everyone that if Jesus chose her to transmit this knowledge, no one has the right to reject her. This moment is a direct criticism of the patriarchal structure of the church, making it clear that true spiritual knowledge does not depend on gender or hierarchy. Leadership, according to the Gospel, comes from understanding and a deep connection with the truth, not from power imposed by tradition. If you are enjoying this content, subscribe to our channel. Your support is essential so that we can continue to bring quality material to you. This gospel appears as a wake-up call, exposing the flaws in the religious structures that for centuries manipulated faith to ensure their dominance. It points directly to the way institutions have used the idea of sin and condemnation to subjugate minds and hearts. However, today, more than ever, people are beginning to awaken, questioning the validity of these teachings that seem more focused on control than true spiritual growth. The message of this gospel echoes in modern times as an urgent call for liberation. It offers a new path, a way to connect directly with the divine without the need for mediators or oppressive systems. For many, this gospel represents an apocalyptic revelation, a definitive break with the dogmas that have imprisoned humanity for so long. Instead of blind submission, He teaches us that true spiritual wisdom is not in the hands of an elite, but within the reach of each of us individually. The gospel invites us to look beyond the boundaries of the traditional and question the very foundations of religious beliefs. This text is an invitation to realize that the ties that bind us are artificial, imposed to maintain a system of power. He suggests that spiritual liberation is not linked to institutions, but rather to the ability of each human being to discover the truth within themselves. It is a call to break with illusions and embrace knowledge that has always been hidden, waiting for the right moment to come to light. The most surprising thing is that this ancient wisdom, which seemed forgotten in the sands of time, today finds resonance in some of the most daring theories of modern science. Quantum physics, for example, reveals that the reality we perceive as fixed and solid is, in fact, fluid and malleable. Particles behave in ways that defy all human logic, existing in two places at once, interacting at a distance, and being influenced by the mere presence of an observer. It seems almost prophetic that this ancient wisdom, revealed by Mary Magdalene, is so close to the discoveries that science is only now beginning to explore. Physicist David Bohm, in proposing the existence of an implicit order in the universe, suggests that everything is interconnected in ways that we do not fully understand. This idea resonates strongly in the Gospel, which teaches that everything in the universe has a common connection, originating from and returning to the same divine source. This meeting between science and spirituality points to a greater truth, which for a long time was kept in the shadows. The reality we see is not all that exists. Both ancient wisdom and modern science point to a hidden truth, something beyond what our senses can grasp. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene teaches precisely this. Through true knowledge and deep understanding, we can transcend the illusions of the material world and access a higher reality. This message, which seemed revolutionary centuries ago, is resurfacing today, aligning itself with the most advanced scientific theories. One of these fascinating links is the idea that consciousness may be the key to unlocking the mysteries of existence. This gospel suggests that human perception, our ability to understand and interpret the world, is the essential tool for accessing this hidden truth. This is not far from the ideas of modern quantum physicists. Erwin Schrödinger, one of the pioneers of quantum theory, proposed that consciousness is not just a product of matter, but, in fact, the primordial force that creates reality. According to him, everything we perceive as reality is shaped by consciousness, not the other way around. This notion suggests that the ancient teachings of Mary Magdalene were not merely spiritual allegories. Rather, they may have been an early insight into the true nature of the universe, something that science is only now beginning to understand. The idea that consciousness shapes reality is becoming a central point in scientific investigations into the nature of the universe, which makes the content of this gospel even more relevant today. As science and spirituality begin to come closer together, the boundaries between the physical and the metaphysical are dissolving. This offers us a new perspective, showing that spiritual knowledge and scientific advances are not opposites, but rather two sides of the same coin. Both ancient teachings and modern discoveries indicate that the material world is only a fraction of reality. Therefore, there is much more to be explored about ourselves and the universe. From the secrets hidden in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene to the cutting-edge theories of quantum physics, one thing is clear: the world we know is just the surface. Beneath it, there is a deeper, interconnected reality that we can access if we seek true knowledge. The message of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is a spiritual revolution even for today. It challenges established power structures, questions the limits of our understanding, and proposes a new way of seeing ourselves in the vast scheme of the universe. By affirming that the material world is an illusion and that true salvation does not lie in blind obedience or imposed faith, but rather in individual perception and inner wisdom, this gospel points us the way to genuine spiritual liberation. He invites us to free ourselves from the fears that have been instilled in us, the social norms that limit our potential, and the mental barriers that keep us trapped in a banal existence. Instead of remaining in cycles of illusion, Mary Magdalene teaches us to seek the truth that sets us free. What's most fascinating is that the latest scientific discoveries are beginning to echo this ancient wisdom. Quantum mechanics reveals to us that the universe is not the solid, predictable place we used to believe it to be, but a fluid, interconnected mystery where reality appears to be shaped by consciousness itself. What was long seen as opposition, science and spirituality, is now converging. These two spheres, which previously seemed irreconcilable, are leading us to the same conclusion. There is a higher truth, beyond what we can see and measure. The universe is much more complex and dynamic than we ever imagined, and the human mind plays a crucial role in this dynamic. But listening to these ideas is not enough. For us to truly understand the depth of these truths, more than passive reflection is required. We must take an active stance, look beyond the surface of everyday life, question what we have always assumed to be true, and explore our own conscience in a courageous way. This search requires a willingness to confront the foundations of our beliefs, even when it shakes what we thought was solid. And this quest is not just intellectual. It is a journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and transformation. The teachings of Mary Magdalene are an invitation to empowerment. It calls us to walk our own path towards spiritual freedom, to break the shackles of material illusion and embrace a deeper truth. As science approaches ancient spiritual lessons, we see that reality is far more mysterious and interconnected than we could ever imagine. The power to transform the world around us begins within us. Although the material world appears solid and unchanging, the truth is that we have the ability to rise beyond it, to understand the invisible connections that sustain all things, and to unleash the vast potential that exists within our consciousness. With the past and present aligning in a new perspective, a unique opportunity arises before us to free ourselves from the bonds that bind us and embrace a future of knowledge and spiritual expansion. This is just the beginning. The path to deeper, more authentic knowledge lies before you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow the next videos. See you soon.